Gentleman yields back. Chair recognizes Ranking Member Mr. Meeks.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Our support to Ukraine is vital to keeping the state institutions and local and regional governments operating, preventing societal collapse. And we are helping keep hospitals and schools open as Ukraine's war fighters defend the Ukrainian people. Because they're fighting for their right to exist, actually. And, you know, I've been on this committee for both the wars in Iraq, wars in Afghanistan. So I want to ask about what sort of recipient government and society are we dealing with in Ukraine? Ms. Shaw, can you describe the ability and willingness of the Ukrainian government to assist in oversight efforts? And, well, let me just ask you that.
Thank you so much for the question. So I would say that we're in the early stages of establishing our relationships with the Ukrainian officials. We did have the opportunity to meet with a number of important people when we were there in January. So we have a strong foundation. There was broad willingness on our trip in our conversations with others to open the books, to allow our oversight in. So we were very encouraged by that, but of course we need to follow through. And so we're working very hard to develop those relationships, both within the Ukrainian government, but also in law enforcement and prosecutorial entities. I think establishing and securing positions at Embassy Kyiv will be vitally important, in part because that allows us to further deepen those relationships, which will be critical when the time comes, if there is fraud or corruption identified, to actually ensure accountability.
So what you see now, do you see any weaknesses in at least their efforts or at all in complying?
So we haven't assessed their efforts to date, but I would say that we did not, or I should put it this way, uniformly, the people that we met with who would be the critical players for our oversight work were very open to working with us, and we've continued to see that sort of willingness as we've explored these relationships further.
And let me go to, you know, this committee has received dozens of briefings and documents and consistent updates on the extensive security assistance provided to Ukraine's military, as well as the Department of State and Defense's integrated approach to ensuring the utmost accountability and transparency. And I want to note for the record that, and for all members that are present here, that these extensive documents and details on our assistance remain available in our committee's secure spaces, and I hope members would take advantage of that so that they can see for themselves what's happening there. But let me ask Mr. Storch, given your extensive experience working in investigatory settings with the U.S. government agencies, could you describe your views on the nature of U.S. accountability and oversight over security assistance provided to Ukraine?
Thank you very much for the question, Congressman. I would say this has been a truly extraordinary effort from the very beginning on the part of not just my office, but my counterparts from state and USAID, and really the larger working group. It really is remarkable to see the way everybody has come together to ensure that, as Diana said, we're covering the waterfront, that there aren't any gaps in terms of the oversight we're doing on both the programmatic level, as I talked about, in terms of audits and evaluations, and on the investigative side. Our folks, when I said we're working hand in glove, we really are working hand in glove to make sure that there's comprehensive, robust oversight over all aspects of assistance. And so I think it truly has been remarkable. One thing I'd also add is that all of our offices have vast experience in doing this sort of oversight in similar settings. This is, every situation is different. One of the things about this that's different, I mentioned, is that this is essentially a train and supply mission. So for DOD, the vast majority of that mission takes place before the material or weapons ever gets to Ukraine, right? But we do oversight throughout, and then to the earlier question, when the material goes over, we're doing oversight to make sure that DOD is doing everything possible to do the end-use monitoring, enhance end-use monitoring of the situation. So all of that is going on a robust scale.
So is there any evidence thus far of Ukraine diverting or otherwise losing U.S.-provided security assistance? And finally, how is the 3IG effort examining and existing U.S. accountability mechanisms in use monitoring activities as the conditions in Ukraine evolve?
So we have not, at DoD OIG, we have not substantiated any instances of diversion of U.S. security assistance. Obviously, we will continue to explore any allegations that are made and of any sort of waste, fraud, abuse, or misconduct of any kind. And in terms of how the oversight is working, it's ongoing. We've got, as I mentioned, the third EUM project going right now. We're looking to do some agile reporting so we can get out some management advisories early on while that project is continuing, because we're doing oversight at the speed of war, right? And then as we look to the future, we're already starting to plan for the next EUM evaluation. One of the things we learned from our trip over there, and it just makes common sense, is this situation's evolving rapidly, and that requires us as oversight entities to be agile in doing that oversight. So we're doing that, and we're going to keep doing it.
Thank you. My time has expired. I yield back.